Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for your patience. Apologies, it took a little while just to get things together. Welcome to today's episode of Winter Wellness, where we will be speaking about the essence chest. So, how you can basically create your own winter essence chest. So, the last time we covered making your own first aid kit that you can use the things that you have in your kitchen, and for winter supplies, for coughs and flus and any type of thing. Today we are going to be talking about how you can basically make your own incense, rudimentary, your own incense, your own chest rub, and sorry, your own inhalers. Okay, so we know generally about what to do for colds and flus and coughs, but one of the nagging problems that we have that we most times don't know how to overcome, and this we have normally throughout winter, is the congestion. You always have this heaviness around your nose, you can't get rid of this drip at the back of your throat, or your nose is just always stuffy, congested, you have constant headaches, and these types of things plague us throughout winter. So today, these interventions that we are going to try to make is exactly for that purpose, to decongest that heaviness that we normally have throughout winter. And so it's very important to empower ourselves by learning these ancient traditional remedies that we use throughout the ages. And these are beautiful God-given gifts that He has blessed us with to use, especially for these types of ailments. And so it's also important to empower ourselves so that we can not only heal ourselves, but heal our family as well, and be witnesses and be able to be used by our Lord so that we can be of great service to Him. And so that is what we are going to do today. As you can see, I've got a multitude of various things. Most of us do have this in our homes. Some of us don't. But it is basically to show you that it's not just a one shot fixes all. There are various different things that you can supplement and use to make these various things. So what is congestion actually? It is a blockage that is caused by something that irritates the tissues in your nose, in your nasal passages, and that irritation causes an inflammation response. And that inflammation response then causes mucus and congestion and the swelling of tissues on the inside. So then that swelling causes the mucus buildup as well, and then it goes throughout your whole nasal cavity, and then it causes ear infections sometimes, and migraines, and brain fog, and all kinds of things that you just can't get rid of in your nasal cavity. And so what you need to do is, aromatherapy is the best way to alleviate these problems. And lots of us use Vicks for that problem. Vicks is now crazy expensive. It used to be the cheapest thing, but it is very expensive. Also, a bit of a problem with Vicks is that it is petroleum based. And petroleum is a byproduct of oil. And with the wars in the Middle East, anything that is oil derived is a problem now because it will become very expensive. Your medication that you get at the day hospital and pharmacies and all of that is also oil derived. So medication is starting to and going to become very expensive. I don't know if you saw, but at the moment there is no contraceptives for women in South Africa because, well, whatever is left on the shelf is all that there is, because the pharmaceutical company that makes it has no supplies. But this is going to happen with other medication as well, And it does stem back to the war and the economic implications thereof on everything. It has a serious knock-off effect. So it is best for us to learn how to make our own things so that we don't rely necessarily on Western medication, but that we can also learn to use what we have around us. And obviously natural plant medicine and plant-derived medicines are the best way for us, because our bodies were designed to actually utilize and break down the compounds in the form that it is found in the plant. So they work synergistically together, and that is what we actually want to do. Healing does take a little longer when you use plant medicine, but it is better because yes, you are maybe using it for a specific thing, but plants have secondary metabolites. And those secondary metabolites also then help with other issues that we might have in our system. So it's like a dual party type of thing, where it is not just serving the one thing, but it is helping improve everything else as well, whilst boosting your immune. I don't know what's going on with my throat today. Whilst boosting your immunity. So aromatherapy basically is the main thing that alleviates sinus congestion, everything that's happening here in your nasal cavity. So what is aromatherapy actually? You hear the word floating all around, and most people, when they hear aromatherapy, they think of massages because it's greatly used or widely used in the massage field. But actually, aromatherapy is an ancient form of medicine that dates back to ancient Egypt, Greece, China. They used this predominantly as medicine initially. And it basically is a plant extract derived product that is used through the senses. So the sense of smell is what is directly linked to aromatherapy. So what happens is, when you smell something, it goes to your limbic system. And your limbic system is where emotions and thoughts and things like that are initiated or sparked, basically. And so when you smell something, it sparks that part of your brain. And that often affects your moods and your emotions and how you react to things as well. And so sometimes when you smell something, it takes you back to a past experience, a past tasting of something, and often it brings happy thoughts, right? So if you smell something, maybe it takes you back to high school or your grandma and all the emotions that come with your grandma, for example, you know. So smells have that ability, and it's because when you smell, it activates the limbic system. So that activates your thoughts and your emotions, and that is the link of how aromatherapy actually works in your body. So it can be administered in various ways. You get inhalation, which is the breathing in, and then you get topical. That is when you make a sulfur balm with the actives in there and you spread it on the area. Normally you can do it through a compress or a massage, and that is why aromatherapy is linked to massaging. That is the topical way. But inhalation normally is through the smell, right? So it can be in various forms, and what they mainly used to use was incense. And so people respond in various ways. Some people have a very positive response when they smell or when, inhale aromatherapy, but some people have a negative response to it, and this is determined by your past experiences, your current emotional state, your psychological state. So there's various aspects that will determine how you react to aromatherapy as well. And aromatherapy can alleviate things like insomnia, stress, pain, So I'm sure you never realized that just smelling can actually be a healing experience, and it can, and we should tap into it a lot because it is extremely helpful and works really well. The thing is that you need to use unadulterated essential oils. Those are very crucial when you are making these types of things. You need to know the source, how it was extracted, how it is being stored, and the conditions that it is being stored under, because that will determine the purity and the quality of the essential oils. So always look for, like on your packaging or something, look for where it was extracted or any type of information like that. The origin, yes, it needs to be in a brown or a blue dark bottle. That is because light can break down the chemical compounds in here, so you want to preserve it as much as possible. So you need to have dark bottles. Also, it needs to be glass because plastic can leach into the product. Plastics break down, when they leach, they break down into microplastics, and that causes serious endocrine disruption in our system. So that's our whole hormonal system. That's why so many men are having bald patches and erectile dysfunctions and serious problems like that. Women are having breast cancers, PCOS, UTI, all these issues, you know. And apart from that, there's a lot of aggression, there's a lot of other issues, cancers of the womb, of the prostate, of, you know, there's a lot of endocrine issues that then stem into other issues that affect your liver and your spleen and other things inside the body. So plastics, microplastics are very harmful to the body over time. Also, just a side note, if you do drink a lot of water, try not to use a plastic bottle. Try to rather use a glass bottle or some other form of container, because that then doesn't or won't leach the plastics into what you are drinking. And also, when you do eat fish or something from the sea, just be very careful, because lots of plastics are dumped into the sea, and the microplastics are ingested by the animals, and that is how a lot of our bodies are contaminated by microplastics as well. That's just a side note. Okay, so the different types of aromas that impact our emotions are citrus. It gives us an awakening and uplifting feeling. You get cedarwood, it gives you a very comforting and calming, and it promotes emotional well-balance. You get peppermint, which is refreshing and energizing. Eucalyptus clears your mind and it invigorates you as well. Frankincense brings peace and calm. Lavender gives relaxing and calming effects. Chamomile soothes and creates ease of stress. And rose promotes love and romance. So those are the main sort of aromas that you get on the market that people use widely. There are others as well, but those are the basis of most aromatherapies that is used. So the science behind it is that aromatherapy can increase deep sleep, it can de-stress you, it can reduce your anxiety, and it can improve your mood as well. It can ease your headaches. It can increase your parasympathetic nervous system. So that basically is the system that works when you are at rest. So when you are just calm and doing nothing, your body must still function. And that is what that falls under. It's called the parasympathetic nervous system. So this is when you are sleeping or sitting or just relaxing. It still makes sure that your heart is pumping, that your breathing is happening correctly, and it regulates regulates all those various types of systems in your body to ensure that everything is still running smoothly the way it is supposed to when you are not busy working and so forth. And it's called rest and digest, or feed and breed mechanism. That is the nickname that is given to it. And also your digestive system, which is very important as well. So aromatherapies can also decrease skin blemishes. It can also promote hair growth. It can improve your memory, your cognitive ability as well, and for people with Alzheimer's and so forth, studies have shown that it really helps them a lot. And it can alleviate pain and tension, which is most people's problems. So when you have pain and you don't have anything, just remember smells can also help in that regard. So how it basically works is when you inhale, the odor molecules activate and trigger electrical sparks, basically. Those electrical sparks then activate your limbic system, which is where your emotions and stuff is now sparked into activation. Your limbic system will then activate your behavior and the choices that you make based on those emotional sparks that are going off, and then those sparks are sent to your frontal lobe, and your frontal lobe is where your decisions and your behavior and your choices and everything stems from. Your frontal lobe is where your reasoning happens, where your personality stems from. So all of those things are linked to your frontal lobe.
Teach us, love. I love what you're talking.
So basically, a smell can impact what you decide to do and how you decide to react through that whole chain that we just spoke about. So smells are very important, and they can bring healing. They can also bring discord. So what you smell is also very important, and then once it is sparked, the choices that you make based on that is extremely important as well. Now, incense has been used for thousands of years, as we know. The Bible contains lots of verses around incense and instructions of how to actually make it. Incense was given to Jesus as a baby. Incense was told to be used in the sanctuary. So incense played a big role, and now that you understand how your limbic system and your frontal lobe connects, you now understand how important the role of smelling and fragrances play because your frontal lobe is also how you communicate with God, how the Holy Spirit speaks to you. All of that happens in your frontal lobe. So when you are in reverence and in awe and allowing, yourself to be opened up, that is all through the frontal lobe. So what you are smelling when those things happen is also very important, because it not only sets the tone, but it sets your state of mind as well. So, for example, in Exodus 30, verse 34 to 35, it says, "Then the Lord said to Moses, take fragrant spices, gum, resin, onycha, galbanum, and pure frankincense in equal amounts, and make a fragrant blend of incense." So, incense is very important, and we are now going to get to how you actually make the incense. So, you get your aromatics. Your aromatics are everything from your herbs, from your fragrances, your essential oils, all those things fall under your aromatics. And that is important, obviously, to activate the limbic system. Then you get your resins. This is your pine resin, frankincense, myrrh, those types of things. Those are resins. Resins are when you go to a tree, for example, a pine tree, and you see this gooey thing, that is a resin. It holds a lot of medicinal properties as well, and it has certain smells attached to it. It has like a gum-like consistency, and pine resin was actually the first chewing gum that was used. They used to chew it, but it also used to clean their teeth at the same time because pine has a lot of antimicrobial properties. It has antibacterial properties, so it kills the bacteria in your mouth whilst cleaning it out, and it has a lot of healing properties, so it will heal whatever issues you have, whilst the smell then stimulates your olfactory senses. That is your smelling senses. So that is where bubble gum actually originated. Now you get barks, that is your roots, your woods, things like cinnamon, also pine bark. This is a very nice example. You break off one of these and this will be used under barks. Sorry, this is a pine cup. Pine. Okay, and then you get your binders to bind everything that you are mixing together. And this is, it can be honey, it can be water, it can be wine, it can be vinegars, hydrosols, anything that is sort of fluid and viscous, that is what you can use to bind everything together. So, there are different formats of incense. You can make a stick. You can make a ball, and you can make a cone. The cone is for home incense. If you are making it yourself, this is the easiest and also the best way to burn it, because when you're making sticks, you need to, it becomes a bit difficult because of the molding process. So you need to have certain equipment to mold it correctly. And also, if you don't have your ratios right, it might break because it's not being binded together properly. And also, if you don't have the right holder to hold it, it won't be able to burn properly. So sticks is a bit difficult, but the cones are very good for home incense. This also, but again you need the right holder. And then you can also have loose incense, which is just when you mix everything together, but you don't add your binder. So you won't add your water or something. You'll just have it all together and then burn it. That can also be done in the home. So your base, this is what you call the engine. This is what will make the whole thing burn. And you usually would use something like pine, or cinnamon, or cedar. Those types of barks are what you would normally use as your base because they burn really well. Then you also get your binder, which is what brings everything together. Now this binder, when you are making it, is slightly different to the binder of what mixes everything together. So this binder, so you get two types. You get the application and then you get the components. The component binder is your honeys and stuff that mixes everything together. Your application binder is what will be the base that everything binds to. So, for example, Macco is what is mainly used in incense sticks to keep them all together so that they can burn properly. It is the base binder. Macco is difficult to find in South Africa. You also get Joss. Joss can be used instead of Macco. That is also difficult to find in South Africa and very expensive. So what you can then use is just a normal bark. So you can use pine bark, sawdust, anything that comes from a woody base as your base, because you need something that's going to make it burn but bind together at the same time. Then you obviously get your aromatics, and that is the same for both, and that's your herbs and your fragrances. And then your essential oils also fall under your aromatics. And essential oils, just like when you are making balms and salves and stuff like that, don't put it directly on your skin because you can cause liver damage. Because because it is an extremely concentrated form of the ingredient. So just like with oils, you need, with balm, you need a carrier oil that will carry the essential oil. With incense, you need the carrier, which is the incense components. So it's the binders and your base and your aromatics that will carry the incense. So always add your incense sort of at the end so that it sticks to what needs to be binded together. Your ratios are normally 2 to 1. So that would be your base, which is your box and your macco, and then your aromatics. So your binders and your base go together because they work together to stabilize and burn the whole thing. Or you can do a 1% base and 1 to 3 ratio, where 1 is your base and 3 is your aromatics. It depends on what you want out of it. So if you just want something that is going to do the job, you will do the 2 to 1 ratio. But if you want something specifically for the fragrance, for whatever ailment you might have, you would then use the 1 to 3. So then you'd put a whole lot more of your aromatics, which is these things, in there. So it depends. You need to play around and see. There isn't a one size fits all type of thing when it comes to incense making, unless you make a specific type all the time. But if you're playing around with different things for different healing purposes, then you just need to see that consistency is right. So it's about constantly adding until you get the right consistency, and then you will try it out. You would mold it and then see if it, after maybe 24 hours, because also it depends on where you are storing it. If, for example, you are using honey as your base to bind everything. Honey is hygroscopic or a humectant, so it will draw moisture from the area. So you want to put it in an area where there is no moisture, because you want to dry it out, not bring more moisture to it. Honey has a lot of healing properties, which will also help, but that is the danger, or the caveat, should I say, when using honey. So in such an instance, you would maybe put it in a solar dehydrator or on the car windowsill or something where there's not a lot of moisture around. Or a warmer, if you have a warmer. You can also use a dehydrator if you do have one, or an air fryer. You just need to be very careful, because it needs to be sort of a slow, not a very quick drying process. So a warmer works really well if your oven does have that facility. But other than that, try and just put it in a dry, sunny area or a well-ventilated area where it will be able to dry. And drying normally takes 24 to 48 to 36 hours, depending on what is in your mixture and where you are drying it. So the first thing you would do is you would mix your wood powders and your resins together. Then you would add your macco and your sawdust. Then you would add your essential oils, and then you would add your water, because the water will determine the consistency of it. So your water you are then adding slowly, because sometimes you don't, depending on the type of herbs you are also using, it might soak in, or it might need a lot more to not drench but wet and bind the stuff. So you are your best guide as to see how and what you need to do when you are busy mixing this. Okay, so I'm just going to do a quick demonstration before I move on to the other part of how to make incense. Preferably a bowl. If you are busy mixing things first, for example, if you are going to put menthol in, The menthol are crystals. So you need to first grind it in a metal porter or a coffee grinder. Whatever will grind it into its finest form, and then it will come out in this type of form.
Wendy, I noticed all the stuff on the table is dry ingredients, so you don't use fresh like lavender.
No, no, not for incense. You won't use fresh plant material. You first need to dry the plant material because it will affect. Yes, it won't burn properly. It will affect how it burns. Also, different ingredients will either cause it to burn faster or slower. It depends on the type of ingredient. So, when you are researching what you want to use for what specific ailment you have, just check on what will cause a long or slow burning. Although that doesn't really matter because you just want it to burn to get the inhalation process going. But those are things that you can look at if it interests you. Some people want a very long burning thing, so it must burn very slowly. Other people just want it to burn so that the aroma can do its job. So it depends on you and what your preferences are basically. So the different types that you can use are, you can use mullein, you can use plantain, all the different types of plant extracts you can use, but it must be dry. So if you're going to make something, first dry it out before you use it, depending on what you want to use it for. Also, you can use dandelion, orange peel powder, rose petals, mullein, whatever, depending on the end use. You can use slippery elm as well. So, because I couldn't get Mako and I couldn't get Joss, which is the normal base that you would add everything else to, I used sawdust. But it needs to be untreated sawdust. So you must make sure when you are sourcing sawdust that it doesn't have any resins on it, any paint on it, anything like that. So the tree that they are making or cutting the sawdust or collecting the sawdust from shouldn't have any of those paintings. You know, sometimes they paint the trees because it's a pest control or that type of thing. It shouldn't have any of that because those poisons and toxins is what you are going to breathe in. And that's obviously counterintuitive to what you want to achieve. So you can start with, it doesn't matter, you can group like your aromatics together and your bases together. Those things you can group first depending on what you want to do, or you can just throw everything together all at once. So what I did here was I used mullein, I used dandelion, I used cinnamon, slippery elm, I used sea moss. Sea moss powder is called Karagian gum. You can also use charcoal. I use frankincense, menthol. I use some pine cones that are also crushed down, and citrus peels, and then the essential oils. But I'm just going to show you how to make a rudimentary, because what you want to do is you want to get your consistency right. So if you are going to do the 2-to-1 ratio, right, you would put 1, 2, this is a very big spoon, of the sawdust. But now to that, as a binder, I want to add cinnamon and cloves, because cinnamon, if you have none of these, you can use cinnamon as your base binder as well. Clove powder, or you can take the actual cloves and crush it. Just remember, everything needs to be crushed into powder form before using it. Right? I have frankincense, but it is in the resin form. So I crushed it down into a powder form. So I'm going to use some frankincense and some menthol and some slippery elm, some orange powder, yeah, that's what I'll use. And then I'll use my essential oils. Also, I want to use a little mullein because this I want for respiratory healing. Okay, so mullein is, or mullein, however you want to use it. This is the flowers that I crushed. So you would use a half a teaspoon. Ooh, my teaspoons are so big. Something like this. This is more of a clove, so this would be like a half a teaspoon of the mullein. So mullein helps open up your alveoli. So it opens up, it clears your chest, it helps with decongestion. Slippery elm is more of a base so that it can bind. Also a very expensive product. But this helps with gut issues. And then I want to put some menthol. So menthol has a decongesting property. When you smell it, it gives a very cooling effect. And that cooling effect gives the effect of opening up. So when you smell it, you immediately, the coolness, that burst of coolness makes it feel like everything is opening up and you can breathe. And so that's what menthol crystals do.
Sorry, I didn't hear you now. What does the gut cleaner? What
Slippery elm.
Sorry?
Slippery elm.
Oh, yeah, spell alcohol.
Slippery. The word slippery.
Slippery.
Elm like a tree.
L-E-L-M.
You're speaking gibberish here today?
There is a video.
Thank you.
No, I would love to.
I've got one.
Oh,
Your arms to burn like
because that's
It's a yellow flower and
Yes.
yes, it's a yellow flower, mullein or mullein, however you want to say. So there's different ways to use it. You can smoke it because when it's in that form, it opens up your airways. Or you can obviously drink it as a tea. You can put it in a chest rub or in incense like this now, for example. So it will do the same thing when you're inhaling. It will open up everything, the same sort of concept as if you were smoking it.
Okay. Can you use the whole plant?
You would use the leaves and the flowers. That's what where the medicinal properties are. Mullein can also be used as a candle. So the stalk, you just maybe coat it in some wax and it can be burning for ever and a day. So mullein has a lot of properties that you can use it or repurpose it for, apart from the medicinal properties of respiratory healing. Okay, so you would mix everything together. So in here I have my resins, I have my aromatics and my binders. And And now just essential oils. I like this thing, it works very nicely for me. Or otherwise you can just do the drop. So this is pine oil. And pine oil stimulates. Pine oil is an amazing healing property type of plant or tree that you want to use. You can eat the whole tree. You can use the whole yes, you can use the whole tree as medicine. What they normally use pine for is to make pine needle salve. So it basically, when you are using it as a salve, it's almost like it has the same effect as stitching does. So it will glue your skin together. That's what pine needle does whilst healing, because it's got antibacterial properties as well. The problem with that is when you do that, because they call it they used to use it on the battlefield, and they would call it the battlefield stitcher, for example. So the problem with that is that your wound needs to be completely clean.
Yeah.
Otherwise, whatever is trapped underneath will then fester and inflammation, and you could have serious problems, because now your skin is glued together and you're having this infection under that. Then it would need to be opened again and a whole lot of problems. So always make sure, if you are using it in that way, that it is thoroughly cleaned and disinfected. Okay, so pine needle tea is also very good. It contains shikimic acid, and shikimic acid is the active ingredient that basically is like your immune boosting, fighting cell type of thing. So you know, with the spike protein, with COVID, shikimic acid inhibited what the spike protein did. So if you had COVID and you had some pine needle tea, it would inhibit or stop what the spike protein was actually doing in your body. It also is a great decongestant, so it will loosen whatever phlegm and bring it up. So whether you are drinking it, whether you are inhaling it, it will have the same type of effect because of the active ingredient in it. So normally you would take 10 to 15 drops. That's about 10. But like I said, it's up to you how much you want to use depending on the consistency. You can always add more or less. So of your essential oils, 10 to 15 drops of your main essential oils. Your main ones will be pine, rosemary, peppermint and eucalyptus. So rosemary also has amazing properties in rosemary stimulates the brain and also then opens up the air passages as well as it is stimulating the limbic system. Rosemary also has a lot of healing properties, as you know. And then peppermint. Peppermint is an anti-inflammatory, so it will help with that congestion and the tissues that have swelled up. It will help combat that. And then eucalyptus, as I mentioned, gives that fresh feeling and also opens up your air passages and heals. And there's others that you can add: cedarwood, sandalwood, lavender, and tea tree oil. I just want to add some tea tree oil because tea tree oil is antimicrobial, so it will help fight whatever infection you have. Maybe just 5 drops of tea tree oil because it's very potent. And then you would mix everything. Okay, I just want to put some gloves on. Because as I mentioned, the essential oils might, if you have a lot of it and not enough carrier, just to be on the safe side so that you don't have liver damage. Oh, it's a bit gloves today. But I mean, once you have your water and your other things, it shouldn't, because it would be the carrier. But just be safe. Okay. Oh, I need water for somebody. Sorry, I forgot. Water. Thank you. Water. Okay, so I want everybody just to smell this before I add the water. As you can see, everything is binding together. Is it opening up? I hope your nasal passages are opening up.
What about?
Good. Speak form. Okay, so you can smell what is actually in there and how it opens. Obviously, when you burn it, it does have that incense overall burning smell, but afterwards you will start smelling the notes of the eucalyptus, peppermint, all of that permeate the air, which is actually what you want, because you want those smells to be in the air to start opening up your passages when you do have congestion. So water, you need to add a little at a time. There isn't a set amount of water that you should be using, because, like I said, it will depend on the consistency. Unfortunately, sawdust does make it very fluffy, and you want it to be more. Oh, I didn't put in orange peel. So orange peel is also a great binder in the sense that when you use something like
It's very oily.
like the sawdust, you want something to make it come together more. So what I find normally works for me is if I wet it quite a bit and it's soggy, then I can always work back to making it a better consistency by adding more cinnamon or whatever to make it, more workable. What you don't want your end result to be is wet and soggy because it needs to dry out and burn. That is the purpose of it. So it needs to be like a clay type of consistency. So this right now, because of unfortunately the sawdust, so I'm just going to put more cinnamon and cloves in. So as long as your base, you start with the right ratios, you can always then rework it and add what you need to get the consistency that you need. Oh, I forgot to put some of the gums in. So you can use xanthan gum or bureau gum. Those gums you can also use. I didn't have that, I just had the sea moss gum. Oh my, everything is opening up here. Okay, so you want it to look like this, like a putty type of thing, and then you would mold it. Okay, so you would maybe take small little balls. And like I said, the cone shape is the best shape for the home. And there you go. There's a cone shape. That's how you make incense. Okay, so now inhalers. This I got at essentialoils.co.za. They sell these individuals. I think it's like under rand for one. Or you can go to bigger entities that sell in bulk. Obviously bulk is cheaper. But I just bought for today's purposes. So you would, just a normal lipstick case with a cap.
Is that like the little Vicks thingies?
Yes,
we
that they
pop
used
in
to
our
have,
nose?
yes.
Only plastic.
Yeah, unfortunately. Getting those caps with the two holes in is very difficult. Most people don't have it. If you can find it, great. It will be quite expensive. That will be first prize, but if not, just your normal lipstick container. Then you would get what you call a cotton wick. So this is the base of cigarettes. That soft spongy thing. It is so that you can still pull through, inhale through, whilst getting the essence at the same time. So all you need to do is you can soak these first in your little mixture. So depending on what you want to use the inhaler for headaches, for allergies, or just normal congestion, that will determine the type of essential oils you would play around with. But your base should always be your peppermint, eucalyptus. If you can get pine oil, great, and if you can get rosemary, great. But these and your tea tree oil, that will be your base for normal congestion. Everything else you can play around with for what your purposes. If you are using it for a headache, you want to use a lot more peppermint, because peppermint helps with the headache pain as well. So you would then push this in there, and then you would just do a few drops on the inhaler, on the cotton wick. As I mentioned before, peppermint is anti-inflammatory and stimulates. So you just need about 4 or 5 drops of each one. Peppermint, eucalyptus will give you that fresh burst and open up of all your nasal cavities. Also, the peppermint will help with if you were starting to get an ear infection or anything like that. It will help with the infection because of the anti-inflammatory properties. If you want it for memory boosting, you can add the rosemary as well. So this, because it's cotton, it will absorb right through to the end. And that basically is how you make your inhaler. And then you close it and you let it stand and soak in for about 24 hours.
Sorry, Cindy, what else can you use if you don't have that
Weekend. Do you use a tampon?
That's a very clever idea, yes. Although a tampon is a bit thick, I don't know if it will fit in here.
Yeah, I was just thinking.
Maybe you can cut it,
Like
yes.
with an empty cup.
Yes, you can, because it will swell once you adding the essential oils. So that is something you can use. A normal candle wick, you can also use that, maybe plait it to make it thicker. Put that in there because the wax around it will hold all the fragrances, lock it in as well. So those are things that you can use. Everybody can just pass this around. This is what I did yesterday.
So it's just a little.
So it's standing for 24 hours. And every time you just want to open up, you just pop off the cap and you just smell. Any questions on inhalers?
Can you?
Do you add, is it just the, yeah, what else do you put in there? Do you add a balm?
No, that's it. You'll see now, it's very effective. You don't need anything else. It works. If you can, maybe if you want to use the menthol, maybe melt some menthol down in a carrier oil and then put it over there. But otherwise, the essential oils are all that you need.
What's your carrier oil? grapeseed.
You can use grapeseed, you can use olive oil, castor oil, coconut oil.
Okay.
It's up to you, whatever you, jojoba oil, whatever you want to use. It's up to you. But these I got at essentialoils.co.za. They sell in small quantities.
Will I get that by the, what's the store, Body Shop? Not. So it's,
I don't think they sell the raw thing for you to make your own. If they do, it will be very expensive. But try and find a wholesaler that suppliers with the actual product to make it. Well, then you can just use cotton wool.
Yeah.
Cotton wool, yes. And then maybe just coat it in some beeswax after you've soaked it in your essential oils. Because you can throw all your essential oils into a container and soak these things in there. So if you're going to use maybe cotton wool, then once you have made it into your little cylinder, you then just maybe dip it in some wax and there you go. Put it into your little thing.
beeswax.
Yes, beeswax. Can you smell? Where is it now? Can you smell it? Everybody? Did you smell? Did it open
I can
up?
smell it from here.
It work like a normal Vicks, Vicks inhaler.
Are you feeling okay?
Okay, so now I'm going to make two different types of balms. One will be your chest rub and one will be your headache sinus balm. Okay, so can Okay, now for your chest rub, what you will need is coconut oil. This you can buy at Discount, Clicks, anywhere.
Anyone else?
You can use some olive oil. Olive oil is very expensive, so this is optional, but you just need. It is very expensive. Some beeswax. So this is grated beeswax. This is beeswax in its solid form. Good prices will be from a beekeeper. If you want, I have a few names. I can give it to you afterwards. But also upcountry, whoever sells honey normally sells beeswax as well. Or they know people that sell beeswax. Okay, so you would need coconut oil, olive oil, your beeswax, your menthol.
Cindy, do you need all of those bases, or can you like coconut oil obviously would be more cost effective than olive oil. So
Yes, so you don't need olive oil. It will just make it softer. Because also when you are in your flu state, your body's tender and sore. You want to make a balm, not a salve. A salve is harder.
Yes.
So a balm is more like a Vicks type of, or just something that will glide on and not be as hard to rub in. So olive oil will do more of the softening, but otherwise you can just use less beeswax. To harden, otherwise it's just going to be, in winter it will be solid because it's cold, but this body temperature it melts. So in summer it will just be liquid. So it depends on your container. So you want to harden it a little, and the beeswax does that job in a balm or salve. Okay, and then we have our menthol crystals. So like I said again, menthol helps with anxiety, which can be induced because of the difficulty breathing and Diskim can sell it, health shops do sell it, you have to just shop around. Or you can go to a supplier that sells chemicals and pharmaceutical, food grade type of products. Okay, so menthol is also the cooling effect. So as soon as you breathe in, it will make you feel like that boost of coolness, everything is opening up, that's what menthol will do. Then you also want your peppermint oil, which is your stimulating expectorant. So an expectorant is something that will bring up the mucus. Okay, so your peppermint will also do that, and it will ease your breathing because it will also help because it's an anti-inflammatory. So because your tissues, your lungs, your tissues are swollen, so you want that anti-inflammatory effect to also combat what's happening there.
Sorry, Sandy, you still get the comfort blockies.
Cancer blocks.
Camphor blockies.
Yes, you can use camphor also because it works very similarly to menthol. So you can also use camphor or the essential oil. So it's up to you what you want to use. And then obviously your tea tree oil is antimicrobial, and antimicrobial means that it fights any type of bacteria or fungi or any virus or whatever that is causing the issue in your chest or the congestion in your chest. It will fight that. And then you can put in cedar wood or sandalwood also to help as a decongestant or an expectorant. So those are the basic things that you will put in. I'm going to put it in here. Okay, so for this, you will take a half a cup. So you can either use a measuring jug or you can use these things. So I think that's about a half a cup. Sorry, a quarter cup. Quarter cup, sorry, quarter cup. And then I'm going to put in 2 tablespoons, but optional, olive oil.
In
You can use a seed oil,
but that's not
like
good.
fish oil, whatever, because it's going to be topical. But remember, that is a trans fatty acid, and it's not very healthy, even if you are applying it topically.
And how's it gonna bind to your essential oils also? If you must use a fish oil.
Because it's all oiled, sorry, and the beeswax will bring it all together. It will work. Because if you don't have any of this, fish oil is what you can use as a carrier oil.
And
To make, yes, you can use castor also. It is a bit very thick and sticky, but yeah, castor oil can also be. But I mean, most people have your fish oil in your house. So that is something you can use. I wouldn't advise. I would say try and use the other stuff that is more natural. But when push comes to shove, when you need to do something, that is what you can use. Just like it is better to use honey because of its antimicrobial properties and all the other healing properties that it has. But if you don't have, you can use sugar instead. Because sugar is what you call hygroscopic. So sugar, for example, and we covered this in our last workshop. If you have a wound, open wound, a deep cut or something, and you don't have anything but sugar, pack it with sugar. The sugar will draw the moisture out of the area and starve the bacteria, because bacteria can only grow when there's moisture around. So if there's absolutely no moisture, the bacteria can't grow, and then the sugar can also then heal.
So it acts as a
Help
scan,
heal.
basically.
So yeah, so sugar, if all else fails, can be used for wound healing as well. So you can put, if there's an ingredient that requires honey, you can use and supplement sugar instead. So there's nothing wrong with sugar, however, it is better to use honey for things like this. Okay, so that would be your oil phase, and then you would put some beeswax, 1 tablespoon. When beeswax is shaved like this, it is very light and fluffy. So you might need to put a little more than what they say, because it's not, it's deceiving, so to say. And then we will add our essential oils, 25 drops. This is peppermint, rosemary. Sorry, no, not rosemary.
Is it 25 drops
Eucalyptus.
combined oils, Cindy?
No.
Or 25 of each?
Each.
So for this, you use menthol, eucalyptus, peppermint, pine, tea tree.
And how much of the tea tree? Also 25.
No, just 5.
5 tea tree and 25 pine.
25 pine, 25 eucalyptus, 25 peppermint. And then you would take a 1/4 teaspoon of your menthol.
Quarter tea.
You can take it like this, you don't need to crush it. I'm just
Menthol, just
using it. Menthol. Okay, and then it goes into your microwave. So the last time we grated our beeswax here, and some of the metal shavings came off from the grater into, and then there were sparks in the microwave. But this is how you learn.
So Cindy, if I don't want to warm my balm in the microwave, can I just do it over a double boiler?
Yes, absolutely. So the natural method would be to use a double boiler. That simply means a container in a container.
Yeah.
So you would have your pot of water, then you would maybe put your glass jar as your container, and then on top of that maybe another container where your things are in. This is so that water doesn't get in, but that the heat of the boiling actually melts everything. So that's normally how you would do it.
It's like cooking chocolate.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so while that is busy, I want to send this around. This is the chest strap that I made. So it's nice and smooth, and when you take some of it, your finger will start melting it. Okay, and then that is how you rub it onto your chest.
Okay.
So it has a nice soft feel, as I mentioned, and the smell. And so when you are rubbing it on your chest, just like with Vicks, it will then see your chest is the biggest, sorry, your skin is the biggest organ of your body. Your blood vessels are right under your skin. So it is your skin is the quickest way to get something into your bloodstream or into your organ that you're targeting. So when you're rubbing it on your chest, immediately the menthol, the peppermint, eucalyptus, all of that will start penetrating into the chest and then do its work, which is to decongest, to fight the inflammation, to open up your lungs so that you can breathe. And like I just took one finger and already my chest is like, sure. Okay.
Cindy,
You mentioned
Essential oils. So you just also five drops.
sorry Cindy,
So
what
this
is the
was-
shelf life on a balm like that?
Because there's no water in, it can last
Forever.
5 years minimum.
Wow. Okay.
As long as you store it properly, as long as no moisture gets in there, that is how long it should last. Okay, so the beeswax in here needs to dissolve a little more.
So it's actually
So you eat something that will affect the liver cost. What
Essential oils. Essential oils must never be used directly on your skin. The only essential oils that you can use directly on your skin is peppermint, tea tree oil, and lavender. However, lavender you need to just be a bit careful. Peppermint also be a bit careful because when you have a migraine, for example, you can put peppermint by your temples. It will then do the anti-inflammatory effect to help with your migraine. Anything else, you need to have a carrier oil or you will have liver damage. It is very important because the essential oils are very concentrated and can cause serious harm. So any recipe or if anybody tells you put essential oils on, don't. Be safe. The only one you can put directly on, that I would say without a doubt, is tea tree oil. So you can put this anywhere because you can use it for pimples, for burns, for cuts, scrapes, wounds, everything. Because it is antimicrobial. So how was that? And it glides on nicely. Yes, you can be very careful. If you're making this for babies, use very little essential oils. Okay, because they are sensitive. So half your essential oils. So instead of using 25,
Iets beter as Google vandag.
okay, and then the last thing is your headache and sinus bar. So it will be the exact same way you do the chest bar, except that you would maybe use jojoba oil and castor oil. So you would use your coconut oil, you would use some olive oil, you would use some castor oil and jojoba oil because this is now going onto your skin because you would put it here, right? Because you want your sinuses to open and your migraine to go away. So this, and also some people's face skin is very sensitive. So you need these conditioning oils especially. Okay? Then for this headache and sinus bar, you would also use your peppermint, but you would use 20 drops. And then you would use some lavender, because lavender has that calming, soothing effect. You would use some lavender, 10 drops. Lavender is also antispasmodic. So antispasmodic means when your muscles are tensing and spasming, which is normally what is happening to your things under your skin, in your brain, as to why you get a headache maybe, or the decongested, the swollen tissues spasming. You can't see it, but that's also what is happening. So lavender can help with that. And then you would put some frankincense. Obviously you would grind it down into a powder. You would put, if you have an essential oils, put 10 drops of that. If not, just a quarter teaspoon of frankincense. Then you would put some rosemary, obviously, because rosemary also opens up your sinus cavities as well and helps you to breathe better. It also decongests the mucus. And then tea tree oil, your 5 drops. So your rosemary will be 2 drops, tea tree oil will be 5 drops, and then that's how you make your sinus balm. Your sinus balm will also be drops. You can use it for headaches, for whatever type of congestion, whatever stuffiness, anything like that, you can use that as well. This is sinus balm that I made.
Cindy, the ratio for the carrier oils for the sinus balm, is it the same as
No. So your carrier oils, your coconut, yes, a quarter cup. Your jojoba oil, 1 drop. So normally you would have a dropper, and this is 1 dropper. So you would take 1 dropper, which is, so this is empty. You squeeze, and that would be 1 dropper. So that's the amount of jojoba oil that you put in. You would then put 1 tablespoon of castor oil and 1 tablespoon of olive oil. And then I said how much of the essential oils you would be using. So if you are not using a glass container, let this cool down a little, because it can melt the plastic if it's too hot. And so how are you experiencing the sinus? Okay, so you can feel it's working, eh? Everything is opening. Okay, so again, for the sinus and headache balm, a quarter cup of coconut oil, 1 dropper of jojoba oil, 2 teaspoons of beeswax, 1 tablespoon of castor oil, 1 tablespoon of olive oil, 20 drops of peppermint oil, 10 drops of lavender,
The one dropper of jojoba oil is how many? It's the full dropper. 5 to 1 more, 2 more.
that's a good question. I don't know, I didn't measure it. I think 1 dropper is 5.
No.
1 mole.
1 million.
I think it's 1 mole. I speak under correction because I didn't.
5 quantities.
There we go. So I think, yeah. and this you would let it sit. And there you go. That is how you make your chest rub, how you make your sinus balm, and how you make your incense. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank